And welcome to another week of Dolan's Dugout with your host, Steve Dolan. I'm Ramon Scott. Steve, another week of prep basketball. Unfortunately, our teams are whittling down quickly, but that's the nature of the playoffs. We still have 6 big ball games coming up in the semifinals. And you know what? We have some surprises and we have some upsets, winners, losers. We'll talk about these upcoming games, huh?
Definitely, Ramon. As you know, speaking of upsets, of course, starting in the girls' open division, I mean, Christian goes up to Westview as a number 7 seed and routs them, beats them by more than 20. So now it's interesting because the Christian girls in the semifinals travel to Cathedral Catholic, which is exactly where Christian's boys were last Friday when they didn't make it past that round. So let me know what's going on with the Christian girls. They look hot right now.
You know, it's funny, Steve, because Christian's girls have had a great season, obviously, and played an elite schedule. They've played some of the top tournaments throughout the Western region. They beat some top out-of-town teams at some tournaments. They had some great tournament success early in the season. When they got into the section and played teams that are better than them, ranked higher than them, let's just say, they've fallen short, quite frankly. And I think they've been disappointed a little bit in themselves in not being able to win that big game. Well, you know what? In their game against Westview, they came up big time with a 76-51 victory. Allie Carrion was just terrific for the Patriots. She led the team in scoring in that game. She made 3 3-pointers, and Christian did a great job on Westview. Westview was 26-2 coming into that game, Steve. And don't let Christian's 18-10 record fool you. You know, those losses have come, like I said, I'm pretty much probably have to go back and look, but it might be to the letter, or to the number, I should say, playing teams that were better than they were or ranked higher. That's where they've struggled. Well, you know what? They got over the hump against Westview, and I don't think it's out of the question that they could beat Cathedral, despite the fact that the Lady Dons have won the first 2 league meetings this year. A lot of these elite teams, it's, you know, I don't want to go with the old adage, it's tough to beat a team 3 times. But these teams are so familiar with each other. Even though Christian's going to be on the road in this game at Cathedral Catholic, you see they have almost the same record. Throw it out. Throw out the rankings, the seedings, if you will. The Patriots have experience playing the Dons. They've done it in their league play, and they can win this game. It's going to be a tough game, but I think Simone James, she had 10 points in the game against Westview. Kristen Williams playing great as well. And you know what? Christian came up real big at the line late in that in the second half of that game against Westview as they started to pull away. Great job, Lady Patriots, representing in the open division.
Absolutely. And of course, Ramon, you know, in Division One girls, now I see you're in the Mount McGill gym tonight. I mean, the Matadors, once again in the semifinals, they won't be at home, but they travel to play a very tough Mission Hills team. What's your outlook on that game?
Well, surprise, surprise, right? Robbie Sandoval has got his Lady Matadors in a section semifinal. Look, this team had to rebuild, and rebuild they did with their 3 outstanding freshmen, you know, in their victory over Del Norte, 63-48. Mount McGill, 2 big victories so far for the 8th-ranked Lady Matadors. Jennifer Moreno, she's got to be one of the top players in the county right now. She had a big performance against Del Norte, and also Ishel Rojo turned in 21 points. So the duo combined, I believe, for almost 50 points in the game. Xana Hurst, the other freshman, these are all freshmen I'm talking about on Mount McGill. Their top 3 stars are all freshmen. Xana Hurst, she knocked down a pair of 3-pointers as well. Jackie Brown hit one from downtown. So Mount McGill's got their shooting. Steve, most impressive for Mount McGill in the game against Del Norte was their free throw shooting. The team combined, I want to say they went something like 18 of 21 or 18 of 20 from the line as a team. So they looked very impressive there. But taking on Mission Hills, it's going to be a tough game. These teams are a little bit familiar. These programs are familiar with one another. But like I said, Mount Miguel, I'm not saying they're a wild card because they're a new team, a new entity. In fact, they are. But they definitely can go on the road and win this game against top-seeded Mission Hills. They're going to need a great, great performance. But given the way Mount Miguel's performed so far in that opening round game against Imperial and against Del Norte, I think the Lady Matadors can win another one, possibly get into another championship game.
Another. That's what Robbie Sandoval seems to do every year. And, of course, now as we move on to the girls to Division II, of course, Grossmont travels to play a very tough Lincoln team this week, too, in the semifinals.
Yeah, and Lincoln's had a great, great season. And Grossmont, you know what? They're playing their best ball right at the end of the season here. Cheyenne Van Kirk and Sarah Henry have done a great job. And like I said to you earlier on a previous show, Grossmont, they do have a little bit of postseason experience with a couple of these players, and they're playing their best basketball right now. They had a great, great win over San Dieguito Academy in the semifinals. And, of course, they defeated OLP. They edged OLP in the first round. They've been a couple of close games, but they got the job done, and now going on to play Lincoln. Going to be very, very tough. But, again, I think it's just like the other two games. We're going on the road, and we're not, decided underdogs in that game. I think Grossmont has played a pretty tough schedule, and they should be in the game against Lincoln. Lincoln definitely favored. It would be an upset if Grossmont wins, but another game that we can go on the road and get the victory. Not saying, Steve, we're underdogs in all three of these games so far.
Sure.
It's going to take an upset to win, but even though it looks like our seedings have us down a little bit, that we could be decided underdogs, I don't think that's the case. I think the games will be competitive. It will take an extraordinary effort for these teams to win. They can do it.
Yeah, and of course, there's one East County team that's actually the higher seeded team in the semifinals, and of course, that's in Girls Division III. Foothills Christian plays Madison. I mean, Foothills Christian boys went out early this year, but the girls are still there, so that's pretty interesting to see what they're doing. And if I could, before we get to the boys, as you know, even though we don't have any boys teams left in the Open Division, everybody that made the Open Division, including Christian and Foothills Christian, does play in the state playoffs starting next week. And that being said, back to the girls Division III semifinals in CIF. Of course, you have Foothills Christian playing Madison. What do you think of that game?
Yeah, and for Foothills Christian, Steve, this has been a culmination of the building of this program. And, of course, they had a close loss to this Madison team. This is the game they want to get back, and I think they can. They're going to be big, big favorites, I think, in this game. That's not to say that Madison can't do the job. I think Madison's kind of in a position that some of our other East County teams are in. They definitely have a shot against Foothills Christian. Don't let those records fool you. Madison's got a very, very good girls basketball program, and they've played a tough schedule. So even though it says right there, Madison 14-16, number 10 seed, Foothills Christian number 3 seed, 26-4, Foothills Christian is not, say, double-digit favorites in this game. I think Madison's got a pretty good team, but Ellie Turk scored 31 points in the victory over Coronado. Foothills Christian won their quarterfinal game 61-33 to improve to, 26-4. It's a great, great record, and that's what this has led up to for them. They, I know they're the number 3 seed right now, but they can definitely win this division championship, and boy, I really would love to see that for Ellie Turk, the senior, and Aranza Fonseca, the junior, Natalie Bravo, the sophomore. Christy Sarkis came up with a big, big performance in the win over Coronado. She might have played her best game of the season. And Foothills Christian, their roster doesn't run very deep. So these girls are out there pretty much the whole time, and they're going to be busy. They're going to be pushing it a little bit against Madison. Madison might be a little bit deeper, actually, than Foothills Christian. Foothills Christian favored to win. They should win and get to a CIF final in Division III. But let's not give them too much confidence. Go out there and win that game against Madison. They are familiar with this opponent.
Interesting. Now, if we could, Ramon, let's go to the boys' side. We have 2 teams left on the boys' side. Division III, we've got the upstart Granite Hills Eagles. Granite Hills doing great so far here in the playoffs with 2 big wins. Going down to San Ysidro to play that, that freshman sensation Mikey Williams in San Ysidro down there. So What do you see coming in that game this week in the semifinal?
Wow, I mean, Granite Hills, what a story. 14 consecutive wins. Steve, in the game against Hoover the other night, came down to the wire, and man, Granite Hills was trailing with just seconds left. They pulled down a rebound with 10 seconds to go, and McKay Roberts, the team leader of this group, has been there the whole time. He kind of penetrated the lane. He dished out to Caleb Erickson. He showed a lot of trust in his teammate, and Caleb knocked down a three-pointer with 3 seconds left to give Granite Hills the victory. The crowd kind of prematurely rushed the court. It's high school ball. No technical, no problem there. They just, blow the whistle, clear it a little bit. There was a few fans on the court. It wasn't like a, big college scene or anything. But Erickson's quote was, just a real moment. He just said, I couldn't believe it went in. And when the crowd just rushed the court, it was unbelievable. Hoover actually did get a chance at kind of a Hail Mary half-court shot that did not go, but just shows you Granite Hills right now playing their best basketball when it's the most important. You remember they edged Morse 44-42, and they beat Hoover 49-48. Now they're going to take on Mikey Williams and San Ysidro. I will mention, though, that Granite Hills did do a pretty good job on Hoover and their scoring player. So, Williams is a different animal. San Ysidro is the number 1 seed, and I think they're kind of a big favorite, actually, over Granite Hills. It will take a real extraordinary effort, but Granite Hills, they're going to have to bottle him up, and then, San Ysidro, they're not just a one-man team. They have some other players.
Yeah.
This would be a major upset, but kudos to Granite Hills so far. That 14-game winning streak, school record, 14-game winning streak. Steve, you remember that 2000? They had a great team back in 2005 that fell short of the semifinals. Steve, this is the first Granite Hills team to ever make a CIF semifinal.
Congratulations to the Eagles. It's interesting. We talked last week about how on the NASCAR race at Daytona a week ago, they did a feature on Jimmy Johnson, a great racer, 7-time NASCAR champion who attended Granite Hills. They showed that Granite Hills gym quite a bit on Fox Sports TV that day, on Big Fox. So maybe these Eagles can be like Jimmy Johnson. Maybe they can come out of the pack and win it all. I mean, it would be a long shot, but can't put anything past a team playing the way they're playing. And, of course, Ramon, one other game, don't want to show my bias too much, but, of course, being a graduate of El Capitan way back when, have to be thrilled with the Vaqueros in Division IV going down playing O'Farrell Charter. I mean, the Vaqueros are still left, so good for us Lakesiders, I guess.
Yeah, and Steve, I kind of touted El Capitan as a team that might have a successful season, in league and throughout the year, and I think they're, finally putting it together now. But how about Jake Fitzner, Steve, the senior? Just a great performance he had in the win over High Tech, 15 points. Deshaun Desanor, I believe he's a sophomore for El Capitan. Yeah. He had 14 points. El Capitan beat High Tech San Diego 58-49. But Steve, just let me tell you about Fitzner's weekend, right? So they win the game on Friday night against High Tech San Diego to earn this semifinal berth against a tough O'Farrell Charter team. It's going to be a tough game, but I think the fact that El Capitan went on the road to beat High Tech San Diego and get a convincing victory, that I think they have a big chance in this game against O'Farrell Charter. But Fitzner, he's a great performer. He's probably one of the leading candidates for Player of the Year in the East County. No doubt about it, despite El Capitan's sub-500 record there. But you look where they're at now, even though they're in Division IV, one of the few teams left on the boys' side, one of the top players in the East County for sure. Scored those 15 points on Friday, and what happened on Saturday? Well, he woke up and hit a 2-run home run in El Capitan's baseball opener. So he's a great player. I don't know if I think he's supposed to be a baseball player, but I think he's a little bit better of a basketball player. It's just that moving forward, Jake probably is a baseball player, but man, he's had a brilliant career as a basketball player, and nothing would be finer if they could take El Capitan to the CIF finals under first-year head coach Elias Tota. Just a great story with Coach Tota, Steve. He's a former West Hills High point guard who was a team leader for the team maybe 5-6 years ago. And his younger brother was just the leading point guard for the team over the last 2 seasons before this year. But, Tota was mentored under the late Jeff Armstrong and Tim Barry over there at West Hills as a young coach. Tota feels like he got, a stroke of luck, if you will, when Armstrong kind of pulled him aside and Elias maybe wasn't sure what he was going to do moving forward. He liked coaching. He likes media. I can tell you that. Yeah. He's quite a talent media-wise. He could do, what we're doing probably a lot easier than we do. But he's a good student and he's continued his education. But learning under Coach Armstrong and Coach Barry kind of prepped him. And we had a poignant interview with him and Coach Barry after Coach Armstrong's passing. You can see the leadership that Elias has, and El Capitan made a great move. It's been unfortunate kind of what happened over there at El Capitan and the coaching. Maybe not a fair situation, but the job opened up, and Tota was a great choice for El Capitan. And, he's got them into a position that El Capitan hasn't been to too many times. They've had some pretty good basketball teams, especially I think more like the mid-'80s were some really good teams. Yeah. If you remember Aaron Springs Johnson and Steve Burrows, and that team was one of the best El Capitan teams that I can remember. You might even go back a little further. But this team's doing something special right now in these Division IV playoffs, and I think Coach Tota is thinking about Coach Armstrong and would like to win one, in his memory.
Yeah, and Ramon, at this time, if I could, I'm not going to sing it, but speaking of El Capitan, it reminds me of those words in our alma mater. We used to sing after every game, sycamores and mighty mountains, colors black and gold. These will be our inspirations as our lives unfold. Guide us to the understanding of our fellow man. Let us look to new horizons. Hail El Capitan. That's my feeling going into the semifinals is hail El Capitan. Great year for the Vaqueros, and hail all of our East County teams. Let's hope they all do well during the basketball semifinals. And Ramon, if I could, speaking of basketball, what was interesting when you were talking about the Granite Hills Eagles, about how it would take a big upset on somebody else's court for them to beat San Ysidro in the semifinal. We're talking, certainly those things happen. They're possible. Look back to 2 days ago. UNLV comes in here as a 15.5-point underdog and beats San Diego State. I mean, I was one of those who I kind of thought San Diego State was going to lose somewhere along the line. I mean, when you play 29 regular season games and then 3 in the Mountain West tournament if you get to the finals, so basically 32 games for the NCAA finals, thought somewhere along the line somebody was going to get them. But what's funny, along the line, the teams I thought might get them certainly was on the road in the Mountain West Conference. Certainly thought Utah State might. That didn't happen. Thought Boise State might. That didn't happen. And honestly, I thought, the Aztecs, if they were to have won that game and then beat Colorado State tomorrow night, would have been 28-0 going to Nevada to play a very tough Nevada team. So it's a very tough road to go 29-0. And I just must say there's bandwagon people now. People are just, they lost. Hey, easy. Last team in America to lose a game. And for those who, who jumped on the bandwagon, not a time to jump off when they lose one game. I mean, because this team still, as of today, even with the loss, the UNLV, they are still favored to be a number 1 seed. Right now, they're still saying the 4 number 1 seeds would be Kansas, Baylor, Gonzaga, and San Diego State. Of course, it still gets in the issue of San Diego State having to play back east, but that's how well this team is respected. So loss or no loss, I mean, it's amazing how much respect this team has, because to tell you the truth, when San Diego State lost to a UNLV team that's kind of middle of the pack in a middle of the pack conference, the Mountain West, I really thought, okay, they're going to fall from number 4 to about number 7 or number 8 in the AP poll. They fell from 4 to 5. Big deal. Dayton passed them. But I mean, most people will tell you that still that San Diego State will be rated over Dayton come NCAA tournament time, when they do the seedings. But again, that being said, remember there's still 2 more weeks in the season. San Diego State tomorrow night hosts Colorado State at 8:00. It's senior night at Viejas Arena. Games on CBS Sports Network. It's sold out. But the Aztecs will honor their 3 seniors. Of course, Yanni Wetzel, KJ Fagan, and Nolan Moraine will all be honored before the game. And like I say, it's on CBS Sports Network, which if you get Cox Cable, I know everybody gets it different now. That's channel 321. Announcers are going to be Dave Ryan, who's done several other games, and also a name very familiar to people who know the NBA, Avery Johnson. So it'll be interesting to see what Avery has to say about the Aztecs. But what I have to say about the Aztecs is, hey, don't jump off the bandwagon just because they lost 1 game. No matter what happens in the next 2 weeks, their whole season starts about March 20th with their first game in the NCAA playoffs.
Yeah, and Steve, I would say that I had San Diego State higher in my rankings, in my personal algorithm, if you will, before everyone else kind of started finally moving them up. And I'm not going to bandwagon it, but I'm going to tell you that with that loss, that I have moved them down a little further, I think, than everyone else. I'm concerned. I'm real concerned about what happened in that game. Look, I'm not concerned about the team's level of talent. I was concerned about their focus. I mean, obviously, that's where you have to look. With that game, I think maybe they were relying upon their star a little too much. And Wetzel did kind of struggle as well when they really needed him, because I think that's maybe where the advantage was supposed to come against UNLV. So that concerns me. Now, funny, one of the things that's really helped San Diego State, I think, is the emergence of Creighton. And look at how well they've done now in the Big East. And I think that, even though San Diego State has defeated them, I think if you put those 2 teams on the court again, certainly would rate that game close to a toss-up. The Aztecs might even be an underdog in a game against Creighton right now if they were to meet on a neutral court. So these are some of the things moving forward. I'm not necessarily concerned. I don't think they can be touched in the Mountain West tournament. I think this will be the wake-up call that they need. And everyone's talking about the comments of KJ Fagan today, Steve, and how poignant his words were, a wordsmith, if you will, regarding some of the things that he said about finally losing. And the media kind of questioned him a little bit on, the old thing that, I don't know, we've talked about, and I think everyone's talked about, would it be a good idea to lose a game? Nobody wants to lose a game, right? No athlete is going to say it was important to, it's important to lose because you could taste losing. That wasn't the case. And I think that Fagan's comments were, widely applauded by people when they had their press conference today.
No, I agree. And Ramon, one thing about the team right now, about San Diego State basketball that concerns me, the bench. In the game against UNLV, bench points, UNLV 26, San Diego State 4. This has been going on the last 3 or 4 games now, where San Diego State, once you get past the starting 5, once you get past Wetzel, Fagan, Mitchell, Shackle, and of course Malachi Flynn, once you get past those 5, there's just no production there. And that's going to be a real issue once they go in the NCAA tournament, because all of a sudden you're not going to be playing, and I hate to say it because they beat them, but you're not going to be playing UNLV and Colorado State and teams like that every night that are okay. You're going to start playing, the blue bloods, especially if you get past the first round. You're going to start playing name teams and teams that are going to have a lot of depth. And if you only have 5 guys and you're not getting any bench production, that's going to be an issue, in the NCAA tournament.
Steve, how did you feel the atmosphere was in the game against UNLV? Because I felt that the team was actually playing under maybe the most pressure that they have faced all season in a game, and not just because of how close the game was, how close the game was. It wasn't close. UNLV did the same thing that a couple of teams have done against the Aztecs this year, and that's kind of keep them out of the game in the first half. San Diego State did not have a good first half again. I thought the team played under as much pressure as I've seen them play with. Steve, some of the tickets for the game were going as high as $160 on some of those ticket sites, and that hasn't happened around here in a long, long time. So I think there was a lot of pressure. I think they were feeling it, like they really had to win that game, and that was just to get in the building, man.
Yeah, and Ramon, that's a good point. You know, when I think of the Aztecs' attendance, the last few home games since they've been undefeated and keep going undefeated, the last team in America to do so, look around when the game starts and there's literally no empty seats. To me, that's going to be the qualifier tomorrow night when they tip off just after 8 o'clock against Colorado State in the final home game. Something tells me there may be a few empties that all of a sudden, I hate to say it, but people, some people just have this thing that this team just wasn't going to lose and all. And I'm hoping that I'll see people wearing red in the building, but I don't want to see a bunch of empty red seats because I've seen that at sellouts there before, games that are sold out where there's, you'll see sections here and sections there that are empty. You haven't seen that lately. Every seat's been full. And that's something that I'm really looking to see tomorrow night. Is the arena going to be full, or are there going to be empty seats all of a sudden because the team lost a game? And also even the student section, the show, early in the year, they were barely, filling up 50% of their section. And then lately, I know, last couple home games, you look up an hour before the game and the student section's packed. I'm just curious to see tomorrow night what it's going to be like. It is senior night and all that, but again, and I don't think tickets probably will be going for as much that game. Part of it too, of course, Saturday at 4:30 is a great time. Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, a little late for starting time, and of course, as you know, TV makes that call. But it's going to be interesting to see what the support's like tomorrow. I think it's still going to be electric in the building, but probably not as much so. And you're right. I did think the team felt a lot of pressure in the UNLV game, but again, we talked about it last week. The Aztecs at home especially always seem to be down at halftime, but this time they were down a little bit more than usual. And just, again, the old cliche, people will say, we didn't lose, we just ran out of time. Well, you could say that about that game, but if you don't want to run out of time, then you don't fall behind by 12 points early.
Yeah, 12 points. In fact, I think it was like 12 points with like 13 minutes left in the game. So that's when it was really starting to, look like, well, this is the flat spot. Okay, all the pundits, all the people on because now that they're attracting so much national attention, and one of the biggest things was would the team finish undefeated in the regular season, and those type of things, those are the talking heads, and maybe those the kids don't pay attention to that, but made everyone look right. They kind of said, oh, they'll lose one somewhere along the line. But yeah, when it was 12 points with 13 or 14 minutes left, I certainly had to start scratching my head a little bit and saying, well, this is going to be tough. And that's how good the team is. They eventually worked it down, and we're still in a desperation position in the final seconds. Even the last heave-ho was one where we were able to tip the ball to ourselves in the backcourt and still get a last second half-court shot. But it was just too much to overcome. Credit to UNLV in that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad, Ramon. And Ramon, one other thing we wanted to talk to before we sign off for the night. Of course, San Diego Padres have played their first 2 exhibition games. They have a win and a loss. Of course, the interesting thing today was Manny Machado in his first at bat hit a home run. You probably saw where Manny said he came into training camp this year swole, S-W-O-L-E, which I guess means he's in a lot better shape than last year, which makes sense because remember last year he didn't sign until training had already started, or spring training had already started because he'd been, wooed by so many teams and all. And I think part of last year, too, is he was behind when he came in, and this year he's coming in, he's in much better shape at all. So hitting a home run in your first at-bat in spring training, that ain't going to buy you a bag of popcorn, so to speak, but maybe it's a sign for Manny Machado this year. Of course, spring training to me, you never know. I mean, the one thing I'll never, ever, ever forget about spring training, when Ozzie Smith was here, when he was playing shortstop for the Padres, one spring, he batted .450, and we're just like, Ozzie's going to tear it up. .450 in spring, started the season 0 for 32. So it's kind of like, once you get to that opening day on March 26th at home against Colorado, whether you've hit 10 home runs or struck out 80% of the time in spring training, it's like it never happened. For a guy like Machado, of course, if you're a rookie trying to make the team or something. But again, at least for Machado, I thought it was a good sign he came in and hit a home run in his first at bat.
That wasn't the year that they made a big deal about Ozzie Smith looking at the want ads for jobs in the off season.
That was his rookie season, yeah, when he said, and this would have been in 1978. I remember because Ozzie was making 72.5, and his agent, and a guy named Ed Gottlieb, and I knew Ed well, and Ed said a lot, good agent, but said a lot of the wrong things in the media, and he just said, how can a guy make it on 72.5? And remember, this is 40 years ago. That'd be like saying nowadays, how can a guy make it on 150,000 a year? But what was funny about that is you remember when Joan Kroc, who was the wife of owner Ray Kroc, then when she read that Ozzie said that, he couldn't make it on 72.5, she said, well, I could hire him to be my gardener for $6.50 an hour. And boy, that set Ozzie off. That set him off. But again, I think then he kind of learned, Ed Gottlieb, Ed, you might want to rein yourself in what you said because you got Ozzie in a bad spot when you said he couldn't make it on 72.5 a year. I mean, even nowadays, I think a lot of us would love to make it on 72.5 a year.
Yeah, I think spring training is going to be interesting to watch. I think more importantly, I want to watch from a pitcher standpoint and see which pitchers do develop. I think they're a little deeper than what some of the national voices are saying. They're kind of just saying, Paddock and then everyone else, but I think, we agree, everyone agrees that the bullpen, and the bullpen kind of, if I'm not mistaken, how was it today? Kind of mediocre, right?
Mediocre. They're going to be lights out. They should be lights out with the people they got there. When you've got a guy like Emilio Pagan, who was the closer in the wild card game or in the playoffs to Game 5, actually, in the League Division Series for Tampa Bay, he was their closer, and with the Padres, he may be their seventh inning guy. I mean, you got Drew Pomeranz back there and Craig Stammen back there, of course, before Kirby Yates. And then, in the middle innings, you got Matt Strahm, who I think is pretty darn good. And, the list just goes on. Pierce Johnson, who just came here, and, it just goes on in the bullpen. I mean, it's going to be interesting because some of the guys that they cut in the bullpen, they send to AAA, will probably be good candidates right now to trade, and you get something for them because, again, that bullpen is just really deep. One of the things about the team, though, Ramon, I think the biggest question right now, and it really expanded itself yesterday when the Padres went out and got Brian Dozier signed a minor league contract. Of course, Dozier's average has been down the last couple of years, batting average, but he did hit 20 home runs last year. 2019, he played for the world champion Washington Nationals. 2018, he got traded to the Dodgers and played in the World Series. So here's a guy that's been in 2 straight World Series, basically battling at second base with Jurrison Profar, who can hit, but has had the yips throwing the ball to first base. And don't forget at second base also, our own East County, Valhalla High grad, Greg Garcia. Greg's going to be in the mix there. I mean, Greg's just a solid player. I mean, you don't expect him to be a starter, but I mean, to win pennants, you need guys like Greg Garcia, guys who can come off the bench and do whatever you need him to do. I mean, good for East County with Greg.
Yeah, and I think he can play all three of the infield positions, third, second, and short if necessary. So I think that, he's their utility infielder, that's for sure. I don't know where Dozier kind of fits in if Profar was supposed to win the job. I mean, Dozier looks like the type of player that, either he's going to be the, try to win the starting job or not be on the team. I don't know where his role might fit in if he were to continue, as I don't see him as a role player, but we'll see. Maybe he's just in to give him a run, or maybe he'll be part of it. How do you see that?
I don't know. What I actually see at second base, I think, again, Greg Garcia is going to be the number one backup. They also have a guy named Jake Cronenworth, who they got in the Tampa Bay trade along with Tommy Pham, who can play all 3 infield positions and can pitch too. And I mean, he pitched 7 innings shutout last year, so it wasn't like he just came out and threw innings, got lit up. He can really pitch. I think with Profar and Dozier, Ramon, I have an idea that whoever does not start may not be around. I mean, he may be a guy who just says, let me go somewhere else. That's kind of my feeling because, again, if you keep Dozier, Profar, and of course Garcia is going to be here, plus you got Cronenworth, and don't forget about Ty France. The guy was the Pacific Coast League Player of the Year last year, so what are you going to do, send him back to the Pacific Coast League? I mean, again, they're rich in talent in the infield, but again, the question is second base because, with Hosmer at first, Tatis at short, Machado at third, those positions are taken. But second base right now is really the most open position. That, and of course, center field and right field, because Tommy Pham will play left. Center field, I think right now, if the season were to start, I imagine Trent Grisham in center and Will Myers in right, especially now with Manuel Margot gone. I think Grisham will be the center fielder. But don't forget about Franchi Cordero. It's like, this was interesting what Fernando Tatis Jr. said about Franchi Cordero. He said, that guy's me with more talent. And that's been the thing. The last 2 years, he's been hurt all year pretty much. But when he does play, there's always these flashes of brilliance. So it would be interesting to see Franchi Cordero play for a whole year and see if he really is the Fernando Tatis of Padre outfielders.
Yeah, and maybe, Franchi, is he supposed to kind of fill the role maybe that Reyes did? Does he have that kind of power?
I think, he does. He does. I remember a couple years ago, he had a home run in Arizona. I believe it was like 485 feet or so. He only played like a month the whole season, and yet at the end of the year, he had the second longest home run in the entire major leagues. I mean, that's how much ability he has. But again, it's the old thing, you can't perform injured, and that's been his thing the last 2 years. I really am curious to see if Franchi can stay injury-free, what he will do.
Yeah, and in Vegas right now, Steve, the Padres' betting win total looks a little high to me. I mean, kind of saying, I believe it's upwards of 82. So I don't know about that. That might be like a big-time improvement over 10 game, 13 games, something like that.
Yeah,
so that would be a dramatic improvement. I think they're kind of a bet under at this point, and wouldn't be surprised if that number drops a little bit under 80.
That would be my guess. I would think, and I'm not saying they're not going to win 82 or more games, but I would say that the under is definitely the bet that would look most attractive to people right now. It's interesting because for last year, I think we all said, 2020 is going to be the year. They may still be a year away, Ramon, but this time when I say they're a year away, I mean it. It's not like, wait till next year, wait till next year, wait till next year. I really think this year, guys like Mackenzie Gore and Luis Patino will probably come up pitching at some point. And I think going into next year, this team, some of these guys are going to have more experience. I really do think that hopefully the threshold of finally getting over the hump, finally having a winning season, and finally legitimately being in a wild card competition may not come until next year. But I really think this team is that close, finally.
Well, and I don't want to downplay the managerial change. I think everyone enjoyed Green and enjoyed his candor. I'm talking about from a fan's perspective now, whether or not it's not for me to judge whether he was a good on-the-field manager or a good, clubhouse manager. But some positive reviews coming in on Jace Tingler so far. The media today was kind of, saying, wow, it's kind of nice to have someone with a personality, whereas Green maybe was more robotic and what he would say to the media, and Tingler might be a little bit more shoot from the hip. So maybe there's a little bit of a culture change there, and that always can, change the results a little bit from a managerial perspective. So, we'll see about that. But I thought that was some interesting comments that came out over the last couple of days. Now that we're hearing more from Peoria.
Yeah, it's interesting because Tingler, he talks more so like you and I are talking now. With Andy Green, how many times are you going to hear, it's a baseball game, keep grinding and all that stuff, But we'll see what Jace is like. The big thing is, what's he going to be like as a manager? It seems like the guys like him so far because, like you say, he's got more of a personality. That's like, for instance, Will Myers. One thing I wonder about, because I heard this somewhere, Will had his best years under Buddy Black, who was more relaxed. Andy Green was not relaxed. And Will's kind of, I don't mean to say he's a goof off or whatever. He gets serious when he has to, but he's more of a, happy-go-lucky guy. He's not one of those, when you bear down on him, he gets serious and 50 different guys are trying to tell him how to swing the bat. Maybe Jace Tingler being more relaxed than Andy Green, maybe that makes Will Myers more relaxed, and maybe that makes him a better player. I know it's probably a reach what I'm saying now, but it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, well, Will's been a disappointment since coming here. He's definitely shown flashes over, long stretches at some points, but it's been those. And I just think he's gotten a bum deal ever since coming here. Maybe a guy who probably is an outfielder. We're going to try him. We're going to make him a first baseman. He's a good athlete, so he was able to transition pretty well into playing decent defense over there. But got to be comfortable when you're playing defense. You're going to be comfortable at the plate sometimes, so maybe that's also kind of the change that Will needs. look. I think when he first came into the league, or at least started to become a noticeable player and a potential star, we thought of him as an outfielder who could play great defense. He could come running in on a ball and make a diving catch in center field and things like that. So, they're right now they're probably going to have to rely on him a little bit in the early going, and we'll just see.
Well, Ramon, speaking of seeing, before we sign off, one last thing. With the Padres tomorrow, Tuesday at noon, it's their first time on Fox Sports San Diego. Joey Lucchese, the starting pitcher. So Padres are on the rest of this week on Fox Sports San Diego. They're on every day but Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Each game starts at noon our time. So if you want to get a good look at the Padres, 5 out of the next 6 days, they are on Fox Sports San Diego. And again, I don't know what anybody watches anymore, but for those who do have Cox, it's channel 56. And on anything else like streaming or whatever, figure that out. But if you do have Cox, which is available in East County, channel 56, starting tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, Joey Lucchese is going to go for the Padres in that game tomorrow. So.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Ramon, I want to just, once again, appreciate you being with me on the show tonight. I know we're going to be back next week again. We'll be talking more about the preps, whatever happens this week, and certainly we'll have other topics. So I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. I want to thank you for being with us.
All right, Steve. Great show. And for Steve Dolan, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.